Okay, we're live.
All right, so I'll now call the Planning Committee of Barrie City Council to order. Welcome everybody to our virtual Planning Committee meeting due to the COVID-19 physical pandemic distancing measures. Planning Committee is meeting virtually. Members of Council, the Executive Management, and the City Clerk are participating via video conference, and we do have members of the senior leadership team here, including Ms. Banfield, in support of the two items on the Planning Committee's agenda tonight. They are both public meetings, so there's no need to do a consent agenda. We'll go right into the first public meeting. I'll note, although registration prior to the meeting was encouraged, if you've not yet registered and you wish to speak, please email cityclerks@barrie.ca or call 705-797-5353 and staff will send you the information you need to participate. We do ask that anyone who registers and wishes to call in from their smartphone, make sure it's fully charged or your device is plugged in so that we can hear all of your comments. The first public meeting is to review an application for an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and a draft plan of subdivision submitted by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of 264085 Ontario Limited, Ram Iron and Metals, for lands known municipally as 140 Lockhart Road. The second public meeting is to review applications for an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, also submitted by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Crown Barrie Developments Inc. for the lands known municipally as 1012 Yonge Street in Ward 9. Members of Planning Committee will be listening to the presentations, the comments received during the public meetings, but we will not be making comments or debating these items tonight. Members of Planning Committee will have the opportunity to provide our comments when the staff report is considered by Planning Committee at a later date. As the purpose of the public meeting is to hear from the public, we will just have questions from the ward councillor to ask questions of clarification after the public get their chance to make their comments. Ms. Banfield, Director of Development Services, could you confirm that notification was conducted in accordance with the Planning Act for the public meetings?
Yes, Mayor Lehman, it was.
Thank you very much. I will now call on a representative of Innovative Planning Solutions to provide the presentation regarding the application for an OPA zoning bylaw amendment and the draft plan of subdivision. This is for 140 Lockhart Road. Welcome to Planning Committee, Ms. Simpson, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see if I can do full screen mode here. There we go. Everybody can see the presentation?
We can.
Awesome. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Vanessa Simpson from Innovative Planning Solutions, planner on the proposed development for 140 Lockhart Road. The subject lands are located along the north side of Lockhart Road between Highway 400 and Huronia Road. Welland Road currently ends in a cul-de-sac at the north end of the site. The site area is approximately 37 hectares, and the parcel of land has frontage along Welland as well as Lockhart. Currently, there is a single detached dwelling on the property in the southeast corner. A large portion of the lands are used for agricultural cash crop farm fields. A water course does come through the south portion of the property and includes some wetland features, and the parcel is adjacent to the rail line. The subject lands are currently designated general industrial and environmental protection, as well as some natural heritage features are identified on the property, which include level 1, level 2, and level 3 categories. The subject lands are currently zoned general industrial and environmental protection. The proposed draft plan intends to extend Welland Road from the existing cul-de-sac at the northeast corner of the property all the way through down to Lockhart Road, crossing the water course. The industrial subdivision will contain 33 industrial lots and 5 blocks, of which block 1, which is this large parcel here, for the proposed industrial use for Ram Iron and Metals. Block 2 will be a stormwater management pond for the subject lands. 3 and 4 contain the environmental protection areas, and 5 includes a road widening along Lockhart Road. The proposed location of Welland Road Extension and Block 1 allow Block 1 to have access to the adjacent rail line, which is a critical component for the future use and operations of this site. The proposed, or to facilitate the proposed development, an official plan amendment is required for Block 1 for the RAM iron use. This block will be redesignated from general industrial to restricted industrial with a defined policy area. The designation is consistent with surrounding lands, as they are also designated restricted industrial and include uses like Lafarge Canada, Cocoa Paving, and Champlain Ready Mix. The defined policy area outlines provisions which support and facilitate the proposed use, as a large portion of the work done at RAM Iron is done outside of a building. The defined policy area is as follows. The outdoor yard will permit a wide range of uses for the operation, which include a variety of equipment and machinery for sorting, separating materials, as well as drive aisles for circulation. In addition, outdoor storage areas for materials and stockpiles will occur as they are being sorted, separated, and processed. In addition, the OPA will modify the environmental protection areas surrounding the watercourse. And lastly, the amendments are required to the natural heritage mapping, which will recategorize the lands to level 1 and level 2 in accordance with the environmental impact study completed. To align with the OPA, a zoning bylaw amendment application is required to rezone the lands from general industrial to restricted industrial with special provisions to facilitate the proposed use for Block 1. The EP lands will also be realigned. The zoning boundaries will be realigned. The proposed restricted industrial special provisions will permit the following: reduced parking standard, as well as increased maximum height requirement for outdoor storage. In addition, specific definitions have been provided to describe the RAM iron use and operations, which include material transfer station, as well as salvage operations. The official plan provides policies to guide development in the industrial designation. Industrial land uses are to be preserved when adjacent to existing major highway interchanges and rail yards for manufacturing, warehousing, and associated uses. The policy also notes that where industrial development includes components of outdoor storage, this component shall be confined to areas screened from the public view, and that where permitted, open storage areas shall be screened by planting, fences, buildings, and/or landscaping, and shall generally be located in the rear yard. The subject lands shall not have a negative impact on adjacent uses, as adjacent uses are also industrial. In addition, the intent of all future development with each lot and block would be to comply with these policies and provide adequate screening through planting, fences, and buildings, and landscaping to any open storage areas. The restricted industrial designation, there's also some policy that applies to the restricted industrial area that I'd like to highlight. And this applies to the Block 1 as noted. The proposed location of RAM iron use has been selected based on a number of reasons, which comply and are in alignment with the policy, official plan policy. Lands are adjacent to similar restricted industrial uses with similar operations, including large equipment and machinery and outdoor uses. Lands abut the rail line, which are intended to be utilized for the daily operations of RAM iron moving and transporting materials. The outdoor yard will permit a wide range of uses for the operations, and buffering will be provided through increased setbacks, fences, and landscaping. And the rail line, watercourse, and Welland Road all provide additional buffers and setbacks to the adjacent use. A number of studies have been completed to support the proposed applications. And in conclusion, these applications intend to extend Welland Road to Lockhart Road, provide and create an industrial subdivision, including 33 general industrial lots and 1 restricted industrial block for ram iron use. They will enhance the watercourse wetland environmental features. They will redesignate and rezone the subject lands to align with the proposed industrial subdivision and to protect the environmental features within the property. As well, they are going to create jobs. This development will create many employment opportunities for the city of Barrie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Simpson, for the presentation. I will at this point call on, I believe it's Ms. Banfield, yes, to provide an update on the status of the application. Ms. Banfield.
Thank you for the introduction, Mayor Lehman, and good evening, Mayor Lehman and everybody of Planning Committee. So we are currently completing the technical review of the application. And given the context of this area, we didn't schedule a neighborhood meeting. As you all know, the neighborhood meeting isn't a statutory requirement. It's something that we do at the City of Barrie to give advance notice to the community. But in light of the surrounding area for this site, we just proceeded to the statutory public meeting. So the applications for an official plan amendment to the zoning bylaw and plan of subdivision for the industrial use are currently undergoing the technical review. The primary planning and land use matters being considered include the proposed extension and alignment of Welland Road, the appropriateness of the introduction of that restricted industrial use proposed, as well as the outdoor storage along the railway, as well as a detailed analysis of any of the environmental impacts on the site, the natural features, and those types of things that are on the site. So we're working through all of that. We will are anticipating to bring a staff report back to Planning Committee in the fall of 2021. As always, any comment that we hear or anything that we hear from this evening, as well as the technical comments, will all be addressed and included in the staff report and responded to. So the submission materials and key dates are available online on the city's website under Ward 8, and Celeste Kitsemerty is the senior planner on the file, and she can also be contacted directly. So thanks very much for your presentation, or for your attention, my presentation, your attention, and I'm here to answer questions if you need them.
That's great. Thank you very much, Ms. Banfield. Madam Clerk, have we had anybody register who wishes to speak?
Yes, Mayor Lehman, we have a Mr. Daniel Hunter on the line that would like to speak.
All right, let's bring him in.
They're just finishing registering him, so he'll be a minute.
Okay, so I'll take the opportunity to remind our viewers that if there is anyone out there who wishes to speak, you email cityclerks@barrie.ca or call 797-5353 and staff will register you and give you the information you need to get on to the call.
Mayor Lehman, we're just registering him by email. He came in at kind of the end of the presenters' comments to want to speak, so we're just getting him. We're currently just getting him registered. It'll just be a minute more.
Okay.
Mayor Lehman, Mr. Hunter is having some difficulties logging on, so I'm not sure if you would like to move to Ms. Councillor Harris or just give us a few more minutes.
Yeah, we can do that. If
Okay.
Councillor Harris has any questions or clarification, Jim, why don't you ask them now?
Great. Thank you, Mayor Lehman. Through you maybe to Ms. Simpson. Just wondering, I know there's some mention of what's included in the restricted industrial provisions. Could you give me a little bit more detail on what that zoning amendment includes, the industrial land use restricted versus what's currently there?
Through your worship to Councillor Harris. So just for the zoning or for both the official plan and?
Sorry, for the request for this planning.
Yeah, so the official plan currently, the designation is general industrial. And we would be asking for the restricted industrial, which would cover and include provisions related to the specific use, which mainly relate to the outdoor use of the lands that's being proposed for the ram iron use. So they have a number of like large equipment pieces for their operations that essentially provide the requirement for the official plan amendment. And then the zoning bylaw amendment follows suit and is very similar, covering their specific uses, as well as a couple special provisions related to the parking standard and the height requirement for the outdoor storage use. Do you want me to go into a bit more detail or?
That's great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you for that. And maybe a follow-up, Ms. Simpson, I was just curious, the Welland Road extension is not part of the capital plan until after 2031. So just kind of curious as far as how central, critical, important that road is to, the extension is to this project.
Yes, through your worship, Councillor Harris. Obviously, that is a conversation we're having with city staff about how we can move forward with this project, knowing that it's not within the more current capital projects. So that will be something that we further discuss with staff.
Okay, thank you. And maybe just maybe one or two for staff, to you, Mayor Lehman, to Ms. Banfield. We recognize this as item of option 5 from our recent employment lands options. Just wondered if you can comment on how this augments, impacts, or affects our strategies with this regard to increase employment lands.
Through you, Mayor Lehman, to Councillor Harris, absolutely. Identifying it in the employment land strategy, identified it as a significant parcel of land that, if developed, would contribute to providing additional employment land in the municipality. So very excited to have the opportunity to work with the owner on this to bring that forward.
Great, thank you. And I just thought of this one now with the railroad. Is this and also a benefit as we've been trying to, this railroad piece that we're trying to make better use of the infrastructure in Barrie, or is that not part of our infrastructure?
Through your Mayor Lehman to Councillor Harris, this is that rail line, the same rail line, yes.
Okay, great. So the positive would be, again, activating this asset. This would be benefit in that regard, would it?
Through you, Mayor Lehman to Councillor Harris, yes.
Great, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Mayor Lehman, the Mr. Hunter is still having some difficulties getting on. We are on the phone with him right now to try and get him to call in.
Okay, thanks, Madam Clerk. The joy of meeting by Zoom.
Mayor Lehman, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be appropriate in this 30-second to 3 minutes we might have for yourself or staff to maybe inform anybody watching tonight what they can look forward to tomorrow if they choose to attend?
On the official plan meeting? Sure.
Yeah.
It's good use of time, Sergio. Thanks for that. Ms. Banfield, do you want to talk about how things will proceed tomorrow night with the OP public meeting at 6 p.m.?
Thank you, Mayor, through you, Mayor Lehman, and thank you, Council Morales, for the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects, the new official plan. Yes. So starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, we do have the statutory public meeting for our new official plan. So it's the second draft of the official plan that's out for public comment. And this is the accumulation of comments that we received on the first version of the draft that was out at the end of 2020. So very excited to be in a virtual room. Would be more excited to be in a real room, but excited to be in a virtual room to hear feedback on this draft. As we've said, it is a draft. It's not the final version. Our motto for this draft is we want to get it right. So we are looking for people to look at their properties and their neighborhoods and give us that feedback. We have received some email letters and submissions already from different people in the community. Staff have had some standalone meetings with some property owners, so happy to continue that conversation tomorrow evening starting at 6. It is virtual, so you can register. It will also be live streamed virtual if you want to speak, but you can just also watch it and not register at the same time. But it's the same registration all through clerks.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor Lehman. Ms. Banfield.
Thanks, Ms. Banfield. Madam Clerk, I see Mr. Hunter's in the list of
Yes.
attendees. Can we get him into the call now?
Yep.
Great.
Unmute. Hello?
All right, Mr. Hunter, we can hear you. Welcome to Planning Committee of Barrie City Council. And
Thank you, everyone. I
go ahead.
appreciate the a chance to speak. Really, the only concern I had was around the outdoor storage of materials in the water course when we're changing some environmentally protected areas around. It's really just the one single point I wanted to bring up from the area, being a sailor in Lake Simcoe and whatnot. Just to always have that in the back of my mind. Just wanted to bring that to the forefront for everyone.
all right, we appreciate that. And Ms. Simpson, anything you want to talk about related to that particular matter while Mr. Hunter's here?
Your worship, I can provide some general comments. So yes, that's definitely something that we are looking into through the studies that have been completed. An EIS has been prepared, an environmental impact study, which is being reviewed currently by staff as well as the Conservation Authority. And buffers will be provided or required from the water course to any adjacent lands to provide vegetation and protection area to that feature. And in addition, there will be additional setbacks from the feature to buildings and areas within the site, and planting and enhancement, like landscaping enhancement will be provided, which will provide further protection. But that's definitely something that we've considered, and I think staff's reviewing our materials that have been submitted to date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Hunter, thank you for bearing with the technology and coming on the call to give us your comments. Madam Clerk?
Can we get Mr. Hunter's address, please?
Oh, yes, Mr. Hunter, we need your address for the record of the meeting. Oh, still there, Mr. Hunter?
Sure can. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, we just need your address, Mr. Hunter, for the record of the meeting.
Hello? I can hear you guys on the, can you still hear me? I can hear you on the YouTube. I
Okay.
can't hear you on the.
Yeah, you know what
Can I email it through?
The clerk can follow up with
Okay.
you by email. Thanks very much for being here tonight. And Madam Clerk, have we got anybody else who has registered to speak at the public meeting tonight?
No, Mayor Lehman, we do not.
Okay. And as the ward councillors had the opportunity to ask his questions, I think that completes our first public meeting tonight. Thank you, Ms. Simpson, and Ms. Banfield, and Mr. Hunter for being here to give his comments. And we'll move right into the second public meeting. This is for the 1012 Yonge Street. It is for an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Crown Barrie Developments. Again, for this public meeting, if there are members of the public who wish to speak, please email cityclerks@barrie.ca or call 797-5353. And I will now turn the floor over to Ms. Tamayo for the presentation. Welcome to Planning Committee of Barrie City Council.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. Give me a second to share my screen here. And can everyone see that all right? Perfect, thank you. So again, good evening, Mayor,
Yes.
Council,
Yeah.
staff, and members of the public. My name is Carla Tamayo. I'm a planner with Innovative Planning Solutions, and I'm here tonight to present our applications for an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment at 1012 Yonge Street on behalf of the applicant, Crown Barrie Developments. I have with me Adam Taverna and May Taverna, who are the president and COO respectively of Crown Communities. I also have with me the architect on this project to answer any technical design questions that I may not be able to answer for you. So the subject site is outlined in red on this image, located approximately 200 meters north of the intersection of Lockhart Road and Yonge Street. The site has a total area of 4.79 hectares with 128.5 meters of frontage onto Yonge Street. The lands have historically been used as an apple orchard and currently contain one single detached dwelling, collapsed barns, and a silo. Aside from the vegetation associated with the apple orchard, majority of the vegetation on site occurs as hedgerows along the property boundaries, and the lands demonstrate a generally flat topography. Here are some photos of the site as it exists today. So you can see the existing apple orchard and hedgerows, the existing dwelling at the bottom center, and the silo and collapsed barns, and the images on the right-hand side. As I'm sure you're all aware, the subject lands are slated for development and intensification, being a part of the Hewitt secondary plan area. A greater portion of the site is designated Yonge Street mixed-use corridor, shown in purple, while a smaller portion of the site is designated residential area, as shown in yellow. I want to take the time to highlight some of the other legend items here for context. So to the north, identified by this blue circle, is a recreation center and an elementary school that are being developed through the Rainsong subdivision. The schedule also identifies a village square to be developed north of the site. To the south, identified by this light blue asterisk, will be a future secondary school. No other properties within the Hewitt secondary plan area demonstrate this level of connectivity and access to key community facilities. And it's because of this that our approach to this development from the very beginning has been to use the strategic location of the site to maximize the efficient use of these services, including the transit and cycling facilities that are anticipated to be developed along Yonge Street. That being said, our proposed application are as follows. We are requesting an official plan amendment to redesignate the lands from residential area and Yonge Street mixed-use corridor to a defined policy area that will permit a maximum residential density of 250 units per net hectare. Again, thinking to the previous slide, our rationale for this increased density is based upon the unique and strategic location of the site. The development will allow residents easy access to the surrounding community center and schools by walking or cycling. The high density also demonstrates to be transit supportive, encouraging the development of future transit routes down Yonge Street. We're also requesting a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the property to a site-specific neighborhood mixed-use zone. This is our proposed site plan. The development provides a total of 1,029 residential units, as well as ground floor commercial uses fronting onto Yonge Street. At the southern boundary of the site, we have provided the 24-meter right-of-way to accommodate for Street A, which will be developed as a minor collector. The northwest portion of the site will also contribute to a new local municipal road identified as Street B. 4 access points will be provided to the site, 2 off Street A, 1 off Street B, and 1 in the northeast corner as a right in, right out access point off Yonge Street. This is a 3D sketch of the development to provide a sense of the height and massing of the buildings. The development has been designed to provide the greatest density, height, and massing towards Yonge Street, which will then taper down and provide a transition to the residential neighborhoods that are to be developed behind the Yonge Street corridor. Majority of the parking will be provided underground in order to support a compact and walkable environment, but also to reduce the amount of surface parking and hard surfaces on site. Access to the underground parking will be provided off private internal roads to keep turning movement and queuing off the local roads. The section drawing at the bottom of the slide also provides another perspective of the transition in height, as well as depicts the underground parking. So in the following slides, we'll just briefly review each block in a little bit more detail. So the eastern block contains Building A, which is a 6-story mixed-use building. Building A will provide a total of 461 residential units, as well as the ground floor commercial units shown in pink here. The total commercial GFA will be approximately 1,281 square meters. Access to underground parking will be provided here. Access through this north-south private road, and a large amenity space is provided centrally within this block. This is just a colored elevation to help visualize Building A from the Yonge Street frontage. The central block contains buildings B and C, which will be largely identical and will provide 226 and 224 units respectively. Access to the underground parking will be provided here, and this block also provides a large central amenity space. This is a north elevation of Building C, but since buildings B and C are intended to complement each other, Building B will have not an identical but similar design. And lastly, we have our westernmost block, which will contain 2 3-story residential buildings with 54 residential units each, and 1 3-story townhouse block. A U-shaped private internal road will facilitate more direct access to these buildings. And this block will also have access to the underground parking and is also provided a large central amenity space. This is an elevation of Building D, but again, Building E will have a complementary design. This slide provides some inspirational designs that we have used and will continue to use as we move along the process towards detailed design. The large central amenity areas that are provided will be significant features of this development, offering respite from the Yonge Street corridor, and they'll also offer opportunities for programming for all ages and for various activities. The images in the top right and bottom left help envision the development of at-grade commercial uses, which are key to creating a vibrant and active Yonge Street corridor. And the image in the bottom right offers an inspirational design for the proposed townhouse block. So in conclusion, the proposed development has proceeded through the city's conformity review process thereby establishing general conformity with the city's master plans and the Hewitt Secondary Plan. The subject lands are uniquely positioned within the Hewitt Secondary Plan area to appropriately accommodate for high-density residential development that supports the creation of a complete community and supports the efficient use of the surrounding facilities. The proposed applications for an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment will support the development of the lands in alignment with provincial goals and the Hewitt Secondary Plan. And thank you, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions. And again, we have our team, Adam Turina, May Taverna, and our architect that I believe are also online to help answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting design and unusual property. Ms. Banfield, I will call on you now to give us an update on the status of the applications.
Thank you again for the introduction and good evening. So staff are currently completing the technical review process with this application, and there are definitely technical planning and land use matters being considered at this time. This is another situation where we actually didn't have a neighborhood meeting as well. Again, it's not a statutory requirement. It really is a City of Barrie requirement to give advance notice to the community. But in this instance, all of the lands within the subject, within the boundary of the subject property have either received draft approval or are in the process of receiving approvals. Many times we don't have anyone show up. The project across the street, we did have a neighborhood meeting for, and we had not one person attend. So in light of that history and the surrounding area, we proceeded straight to the statutory public meeting. The applications are under review, again, internally as well as with our external partners. So the primary matters that we are looking at still remain conformity with the Hewitt Secondary Plan, the proposed density of the development, all the technical site servicing, grading, stormwater management provisions as it relates to the master studies that were prepared for the Hewitt Secondary Plan area. An understanding of the functionality of the site as proposed, including but not limited to the parking, landscaping, amenities, the pedestrian safety and vehicular circulation, as well as the compatibility and consistency of the proposed development adjacent to some of the existing and anticipated development in the area. So staff are anticipating returning to council with a report in the fourth quarter of 2021. All comments received through the technical review process, as well as comments that we hear this evening, will be included and addressed in the planning staff report. All of the submission materials and key dates associated with these applications are available for viewing online on the city's proposed development webpage. This is in Ward 9, and people could also reach out to Andrew Gamero, who's the senior planner on the file, directly. So this concludes my presentation, and as always, I thank you for your attention.
Okay, thanks very much, Ms. Banfield. Madam Clerk, did we have anyone register to speak for this public meeting?
Yes, Mayor Lehman, we have Mr. Ray Duhamel. He's registered to speak, and so far we do not have any other speakers.
Okay, I'll just remind members of the public, if you're watching tonight, email cityclerks@barrie.ca, excuse me, or call 797-5353 right away if you do wish to speak, and staff will help you get into the meeting. And if we can have Mr. Duhamel come into the call. Never heard of Ray Duhamel. Little joke there. Mr. Duhamel, welcome to Planning Committee. I know you've never been here before.
That's right. Thank you, Your Worship, and members of Council and Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I can't even see my own video, so I'm trusting I'm coming through. I'm here tonight representing ASA Development Inc., which owns the land immediately across the street on Yonge Street to the east. That is also a parcel on Yonge Street that has recently, in 2020, went through a rezoning process to permit mixed-use development on their lands. ASA Development is fully supportive of Crown communities developing their lands. They're also equally members of the Hewitt's Creek Landowners Group, which is great. ASA Development has one key concern, though, that they feel, and I agree, as a planner, must be addressed as part of this application. So for the record, we'd like the staff to make sure that the sanitary servicing capacity is available for the increased units that are proposed by the Crown application. So right now there's a local sanitary sewer that comes down Mapleview Drive and ultimately will go down Nishaw. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Nishaw, it'll be a new minor collector road that will run from Mapleview Drive down to Lockhart on the east side of the Metrolinx GO line. That sewer will service a variety of properties immediately east of the Metrolinx line, as well as 989 Yonge Street, the Crown lands, and portions of the Rainsong lands that are north and south of the Crown property. So that sewer is a local cost shared sewer. It's not a development charge sewer. It's locally costed, and it's being constructed. It's actually was partially installed last year, and the continuation of that sewer coming down Nishaw is physically being put in the ground right now. So it's a fairly key item that I believe that sewer was designed to accommodate the densities proposed in the Hewitt secondary plan. The application before you increases those densities, which is great. There's no concern about that from an overall community perspective. Yonge Street's the right place to have the density. There's no concerns. But again, if this brand new sewer going in is not sized to accommodate the increased capacity requirements that this project to generate, that's a fundamental land use concern that we need addressed. So we would ask that you, that staff look at that and make sure that it's properly reviewed as part of the application process. And that's my only comments, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Duhamel, for being here and for giving that those comments. I'm sure our staff will take care of the servicing capacity issue. That is key. But understanding, yeah, it is an interesting situation when we do have applications that come in at a later point at higher density. They have servicing implications. So thank you for bringing that to the committee's attention. Are there others, Madam Clerk, who have registered for this public meeting?
No, we have no further speakers. Oh, apparently there's
Okay.
There's an Mr. Taverna with his hand up in the speakers gallery. I'm not sure if he's a representative from one of the consultants from Innovative Planning.
Ms. Tamayo, is Mr. Taverna part of your team?
Yes, that's correct, Mayor Lehman.
Hi, am I unmuted here? Hi, everybody. Adam Taverna, Crown Communities.
Okay.
I just want to
yes, we can hear you now, Adam.
I just want to respond to raise concerns. I don't know if Ray can hear me right now, but if he can, we addressed this issue in 2019, halfway through 2019, with Ace, the owner of ASA's property, Ballymore, everybody that's a part of the Nishaw subgroup, right? Which is what Ray's head fronting, which is a huge secondary plan. And what we've done is we had an issue with the 375 pipe, not just for our property. So the Nishaw pipe's a 375 millimeter pipe size. And what we've done over that course of time is we increased the D over D. And what that's done is increase the total population of what that Nishaw pipe can hold, which was 3,700 people to about 8,900 people. So our original application with the current zoning was about, I think it was about 850 people. So our increase is about 1,700 people, 1,600 to 1,700 people with our new application that we've just put forth to the city. So I just wanted to clarify that because I have a whole email thread that I can forward over. And of course, going through the zoning process, we could obviously clarify these issues, right, in more depth. We just had some, site plan stuff that we had to agree on with the city. And this is where we landed with the full condo development. So to address that concern, we've increased the D over D to 0.7 versus 0.58, which increases our population by almost double. So, all the landowners, ASA, Ballymore, et cetera, they have, 5,000 population in excess to access to, which gives us that, gives that comfort level to increase the density count on our properties. Being one of the smaller ones, we're going up 600-700 people, and we still have a 4,000 person population, which would probably count for about an additional 3,000 units over and above what we currently have.
Okay, thanks very much for coming to the public meeting to give those comments and the clarity on that. Appreciate it, Adam. Are there any others, Madam Clerk, who have registered to speak for tonight's public meeting?
No, Mayor Lehman, we have no further public speakers.
Okay, then I will just go to the ward councillor to see if he has any quick questions of clarification. Councillor Morales.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. Ms. Banfield, what is the current units per hectare for the purple mix, the purple corridor along Yonge Street right now, as it stands? Because I saw on the I saw on the slide right now the applicant's proposal is 250-ish. Yep. So what's the purple proposal?
Through you, Mayor Lehman, to Councilor Morales. So the current densities permitted is around the 121 units per hectare range. The proposal is for 250 units per hectare.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't give you a heads up on this. It came from the presentation. Do you recall what density the file Mr. Duham's applicant got at the corner of Lockhart and Yonge Street?
Not off the top of my head, Mayor Lehman, but I know that it was just a zoning amendment that was before council, zoning amendment and site plan. So, or sorry, zoning amendment and subdivision and site plan. So it would have maintained the density, the proposed density in the secondary plan.
Okay. Just to the applicant, what's the rationale for doubling roughly the density on the purple corridor? I like the fact, and don't get me wrong, I don't ask it the way councilors usually ask it. I like that it's a blank canvas, right? We get to shape the vision, we get to shape the, and I'm gonna get a couple smiles, gateway to the city on this one. So I'm not opposed to the density. I'm just looking at the, and thank you for highlighting the 250. So obvious. I'm wondering what the value perspective from yourself and your client are.
Ms. Tamayo.
Yep, through you, Mayor Lehman, to Councilor Morales. So there are a few considerations for why we've proposed this density. So I want to just highlight that we've provided a 24-meter right-of-way to accommodate for that Street A, that minor collector, and that really removes a large chunk of the land from our density calculations. I also want to highlight that we wanted to provide a built form height and massing that's complementary to the area. And as previously mentioned already, ASA Development across the street has already proposed 8 to 12-story buildings, and we're only proposing 6 stories here at max. And that being said, we've spent a lot of time working with the city's urban design team to design a built form that's appropriate to the site, but also complementary to the surrounding developments such as ASA across the street. I also want to highlight that the new draft OP actually also provides higher density targets within the MTSA, particularly the Barrie South Go MTSA, or major transit station area. And from my understanding, there are developments in this area that have already been approved. The density is much lower than the new target. And so from our perspective, the development that we've proposed will ultimately assist in achieving these new targets and the vision for the Yonge Street corridor as laid out in the new draft OP. And lastly, there's also the consideration as outlined in my presentation of just the unique and strategic location of the site within the Hewitt's area. It abuts a recreation center, a high school, and an elementary school. No other site within the Hewitt's area demonstrates this level of connectivity to community facilities. And it is our intent to provide a development that allows residents to walk and cycle and have easy access to these uses. So overall, this is just reflective of a complete community vision for the Hewitt's area, and that also is in better alignment with the new draft OP.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much on this. The sewer questions, again, I was asked, answered. I'm sure staff will touch base online. In form of clarification, I like the renderings you showed in the later part of the PowerPoint. Lots of windows, lots of modern material used, and use some different other examples. Obviously, we're at a draft stage, things will change. That gives me a little bit of confidence. And I know this is a site plan, but this is just very important to the final way the community will feel and be used. Is there a reason why you did that, like, kind of box, and then I'm going to call it like the arms that come down on the little blocks? And the reason why I'm highlighting that is that feels like very 1960s, 1970s Eastern European kind of feel. I went to University of Guelph, and there's always the joke that some of those buildings have that really tired, Eastern European feel. And obviously, yes, I get architecture evolves, but if we can design it and have a proper vision from the beginning. I know that the reason you put that, obviously you're getting a couple of prime corner units on that, but is there flexibility from your client at maybe just doing this shape, kind of a flat U and then maybe taking those other units and maybe increasing the 3-story blocks in the back to 4, or maybe even increasing your 6 to 7 or 8. I know that you said you reduced it from 8 to 6. I personally, it's a personal opinion,
Sorry,
don't have.
Councilor Morales, just the question of clarification for the applicant. There's some good thoughts here, which I'm sure you can provide to them after the meeting.
Mr. Mayo, is there a reason, and could you, is that flexible?
Thanks.
Through
Okay.
you, Mayor Lehman, to Councilor Morales. Not from my knowledge, there was no specific reasoning, but there is definitely flexibility. I want to highlight that, we spent a lot of time with the city's urban design team to come up with the built form, massing, and height that we proposed tonight. And so when we spent our time working out, the functional elements once we had that down, but in short, we've been focusing our time again on the functional design of the site and ran short on time, to complete full renderings and to focus kind of on the urban design piece. And so that's what will be our next steps. And I also want to highlight that Crown will be the builder and end user of the site. So, they are invested and they have a number of projects in the Toronto area, but this is, I believe, their first in the city of Barrie. So they're eager to make a good impression and provide a development that is attractive and desirable for the residents here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you on that. Is there any intent at having transit stops within the road within your property, or do people have to walk all the way to the front of Yonge Street?
Through you, Mayor Lehman and Councilor Morales, through my review of the City of Barrie TMP, the Transportation Master Plan, I believe there is a proposed Yonge Street route that will loop around somewhere near our site. I believe from comments that we've received from the Transportation Department, I think they are requesting a transit stop be provided, I believe, on the western portion of the site. But just noting that the recreation is located north of the site and the high schools to the south, there will be transit stops, I'm sure, easily accessible to the residents.
Perfect. And quick question, just looking from the renderings, your parking is going to be the surface parking for the units on the west side, and then above grade parking for the higher density towards the east, or above grade underground. Where's that going to go?
So we have a total of 1,220 parking spots, 1,167 which will be residential, and 53 allocated towards the commercial use of the site. The exact split for underground, which I believe all the units will have access to underground parking, that will be the primary parking. And I believe the surface parking will be allocated towards mostly visitor parking, commercial parking.
Okay, perfect. And I'll definitely take the opportunity to ask this. Have you had a chance to chat at this stage with staff yet about installing rough-ins for future charging stations for vehicles in your parking?
We have not had that opportunity yet, but I'm sure that will be upcoming as we go through the process.
Perfect. Awesome. Ms. Banfield and Mr. Gamer will definitely touch base on you. Those are all my questions, Mayor Lehman.
Thanks, Councilor Morales. I am surprised you didn't ask for Deputy Mayor Ward about sidewalks on both sides of the street, but it is an internal road system, so we're cool.
Yeah, he gave me a good smile on the charging station thing, so I'll spare him.
Okay, with that, I will declare the public meeting concluded. Thank you very much for your answers, Mr. Mayo, and for the presentation. And I believe that also completes the business agenda for Planning Committee tonight, unless any members of Planning Committee have inquiries of staff. Okay, not seeing any. Madam Clerk, is there any other business for the committee?
No, Mayor Lehman, there's not.
Okay, then I'll declare the meeting adjourned. We will see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m., a 6 p.m. start for the new official plan.